My father killed my mother because I was born wolfless. Every alpha child had to stand before the moonstone monolith. The moon goddess would awaken the wolf within. When my turn came, the monolith remained dark.
The child is wolfless!
A wolfless child has no right to live!
My father ripped me from the altar. Before my small head could touch the stone floor, my mother chose her daughter over her alpha. She ran.
Don't you dare defy your alpha!
He hunted her down. She died protecting me with only one final wish.
Let my daughter live.
That day, I cried until I could no longer hear the world. My father spared my life, not out of mercy, to make me suffer. He locked me in the dungeon and kept torturing. Every night, I felt another prisoner's wolf, crying through the walls. I couldn't hear him, but I never stopped feeding him. Then one day, he disappeared. Years later, he returned as the alpha of the Howling Moon Pack. He killed my father and made me his prisoner. Hi, I'm Iris Lane, who was born as princess, but now is a slave to the man who killed my father. His name is Alpha Kane. I could barely walk out when the guard called for me. Bare feet, cold stone. I could taste metal in the air. My legs wobbled. My knees gave. The guard didn't slow. He jerked my arm like I owed him money. Alpha wants to see you, he mouthed. I read his lips. I knew the route. I knew the room. I knew what it meant. They shoved me into the light. Men looked, no one helped. A kid threw a rock. Someone laughed. A guard called me runt. I couldn't make a sound. I could read mouths. Their hatred was loud enough. The door opened. The room smelled like old wine and wet fur. He was in the chair, Kane, scarred face, quiet like thunder. He didn't stand. He didn't smile. He watched. To Kane, I wasn't just a girl. I was an earned reward. The same blood that had taken everything from him now stands in front of him, fragile, sick, trembling. The guard bowed his head as he shoved her forward. Alpha Kane, I've brought Iris. His boot struck the back of her knee. She fell, knees cracking against the stone floor. As she lifted her eyes, she met with Kane's cold gaze that had nothing but hatred for her. Kane rose from his chair, a scar cutting from his brow to cheek. He stalked toward her, stopping not a foot away. Kane's eyes darkened. I've asked myself the same thing. Why me? Why my people? He hissed. Iris focused on his mouth as the words formed. Your father raised my pack. He slaughtered my wife Leanne and my unborn son, enslaved my people. And me? He let me live, to serve him like a dog. 10 years. I've survived 10 years of hell, so I ask you why me? Iris had no answer to that. Please? Her lips trembled. Edgar and Rora, my twin siblings, begged the same way as you, but your father killed them as well. Please? His mouth twisted. I said that word more times than I can count. And your father? That got a pervasive satisfaction every time I said it. It drove him wild. His hand shot out, gripping her hair, jerking her head back. This is only the beginning. The night I overthrew your father's pack and killed him was the night you became mine. My property. I am your master now. Her vision blurred, but she kept her gaze on his mouth. The next command that forms on his lips made her throat close in fear. Turn around and bend, he ordered, but he didn't wait for her to comply. He whirled her and pushed her onto the bed. Her body jostled as her clothes were ripped off. Stop it, she whimpered, but he remained unfazed. He grabbed her hand and pinned it over her head. Terror flooded her. This was the fate he wanted to dole out. This was why he didn't kill her with the rest of her family, to scar her dignity. She scrunched her eyes shut, bracing for the onslaught. But he didn't move. His weight lifted from the bed. He suddenly pulled away. Iris sat up straight, grabbed the blanket and wrapped it tight around her. "What is that on your back?" Cain asked Iris, but she didn't say anything. "Can't you hear? I am asking you, what is that on your back? Who has done that to you?" Iris didn't answer even now. Cain turned around in anger and forced her to face him. "One last time, I'm asking you, who has done that to you?" Cain couldn't believe that he was being ignored by his own son. "Answer me," Cain hissed viciously. "What?" Iris gulped down with so much difficulty as she tightened her grip on her blanket, as if this was the only protection that she had. "What question?" Iris whispered. Cain was frowning really hard now. He was confused. What was the issue with this girl? His callousness was broken. "Nothing. Just get out of here," Cain finally said. Cain knew everything about Alpha Gerald and the pack, but he didn't care much to find out about the little girl. And now he was clueless. "Throw her back into the dungeon. Tell Arya to meet me in my chamber." He ordered the guard outside. As Cain saw her leave, he realized Iris looked so small and fragile. Even a starved looked healthier than her. How did they feed the Alpha's daughter all this time? And how could she have such glaring scars on her back? Iris's back was littered with scars. As a shifter, she should have the ability to heal without any traces, unless injured by something made of silver, like the scar on Cain's face. But then, who would do that to the Alpha's daughter in her own pack? He was confused. In just a few moments, Arya swept into his chamber. Her commanding presence immediately caught Cain's attention. She was Cain's trusted companion, his enforcer, the woman who spoke with his authority when he was absent. "You called for me, Alpha Cain?" Arya's voice interrupted the tension. "Yes, Arya. Don't you think it's a little strange for an Alpha's daughter to look like that girl?" You're right, Alpha, but who cares? We want her dead anyway." Cain's eyes narrowed. But before that, I want to be sure about that girl. Find out everything you can." "About her?" Arya said. "That runt? That's Gerald's kid?" She hated Iris right there. And when Cain didn't kill Iris on the spot, Arya turned sharp. "What's wrong with you?" she asked Cain later. "Know your place and do what you're told." The Alpha roared loudly. That was enough. Arya didn't need a reason. People in the pack knew Arya. She wasn't some quiet servant. She was Cain's right hand. His voice, his blade, and when he wanted it, she got it done. She had been a slave under Gerald too. She knew what real pain looked like. So the moment she saw Iris, she didn't hide how she felt. Arya was furious with Cain's concern for Iris. Why does he care about that runt? Why did he not kill her already? Iris, on the other hand, was so weak. She could barely move towards the dungeons. The icy cold floor was numbing her legs. The wind blew between her legs and was making her stomach churn. "Come on," the guard growled, shoving her. "I don't have all day. Move." Iris shuffled awkwardly with the shackles clamped around her ankles. When they reached the cell, the stench of piss and rusted iron pressed in. But all she felt was relief to be back. The guard's shadow blocked the doorway. Arya walked past the hallway straight to the dungeons where Iris was kept. The sound of her boots clicking echoed in the chambers. "So, Cain didn't screw you tonight, did he?" She chuckled. Her eyes slid over Iris, lingering on her face a second too long. She smirked. "I wonder what kind of woman you are. A screamer, a moaner, or one who lies dead waiting for it to be over." Iris clicked her tongue. "I bet you lie there stiff as a board. Cain likes his women wild, you know, just as unhinged as he is. He also doesn't like his women so flat Iris inhaled sharply when Arya's hand suddenly shot out and grabbed her roughly. A cruel grin split her lips. "How dare you?" she began. She resisted to lift her chin up, though fear knotted in her belly. "I may not whet your Alpha's appetite. He may not be driven by lust for me," she whispered, eyes flashing fire. "But I am his to torment, his to break. His!" The guard standing behind Arya froze, his gaze widening. A bead of sweat slipped down his temple. For a breath, the cell was silent. Iris's smirk lingered, and that, more than her words, set her blood boiling. "You s-" Arya snarled and shoved her aside. She staggered, catching herself against the damp wall. "Put her to work near the mountains tomorrow morning. You will hear soon from the Alpha." Arya left as her boots echoed in the dungeons. Darkness swallowed Iris. She sank to the ground, pulling her knees to her chest. Tears welled, but she bit them back. She would not give him or anyone the satisfaction of hearing her sobs. As minutes passed, her breath slowed. Coldness bit into her skin while there was nothing that could warm her. She felt her body turning hot, but she was so cold. She got so sick that she completely dozed off as she lay on the cold floor. Meanwhile, Arya got back to Alpha Kane with the newly found information about Iris. What? She has a problem with her hearing? Kane leaned his back against the desk, listening to the report. Yes, she was born as a runt. She has extreme health issues, but above all, she has problems with her hearing. From what I know, she can read lips. That's how she communicates with other people. Kane sighed. Now he understood why that girl didn't reply to his questions when he didn't force her to look at him. How was she treated by her father? Kane asked, as he couldn't get rid of the image of her back. The scars were from being whipped, and he was sure of that. Who would have whipped the Alpha's daughter? "Why are you asking this? Did you take pity on her?" Arya asked curiously. She stared directly into his eyes, trying to read what was in his mind, but it was not possible to do that. The depth of Kane's thoughts was so scary. Pity? Kane tilted his head. His dark eyes grew cold at that word. "We don't take pity on our enemy, Arya." There was a complicated look on Arya's face. She could sense that Kane was definitely hiding something. "Alpha, I got a hold of her personal maid. If you want, I can run an interrogation on her to know more about the girl." Kane thought about it for a while. "Bring the maid to me." "Pardon?" Arya asked, confused. "You heard me." "But Alpha? You really want to interrogate her yourself?" "Yes, now go and bring her here." Even though Arya was still a little bit confused, she did what she was told to do. It didn't take long for Iris's personal maid to come see Kane. She lowered her head and looked terrified in the presence of the Alpha. "Her name is Hannah. She has been with Iris since she was 7 years old." Kane glanced at the woman. She looked like she was in her late 20s, and even though she didn't look so shabby, her eyes were swollen because she cried too much. "Alpha, Kane, my name is Hannah." Hannah introduced herself as she fiddled with her fingers. Arya excused herself and left the room, leaving Hannah and Kane alone in the chamber. "Start. Tell me everything about her." Kane ordered Hannah. He didn't beat around the bush at all. "Are you asking about Miss Iris?" Hannah lifted her head and asked carefully, just in case she heard it wrong, but once she met Kane's eyes, she hurriedly lowered her head again. "Yes, and I don't like to repeat my question." Yes. "Alpha." Hannah began recounting everything she knew about Iris. How she often fell ill. How her father and brother Mason tormented her for being wolfless. How she'd been locked away in the dungeon, hidden from the world to protect the family's reputation. There wasn't much Arya hadn't already reported to Kane, but hearing it from Hannah made the truth feel heavier to Kane. "Please, Alpha Kane, don't hurt her." Hannah pleaded for Iris. She is very different from her father. Hannah was aware how badly Iris's father and her brother had treated the Kane's pack as slaves, but she knew Iris had nothing to do with that. However, that was not the thing that Kane wanted to hear. "Tell me about the wounds on her back." Hannah flinched when she heard that question. If Kane had seen Iris's wounds, it meant he had undressed her, and she could only imagine what kind of nightmare that her dear Missy had gone through in the hands of Alpha Kane. That's... Hannah held back her tears. Her emotions were all over the place. She hated Alpha Kane for hurting her Missy in such a way. "I couldn't hear your answer." Kane walked toward Hannah. His footsteps sounded so eerie. "Answer me. Who has whipped her, and why?" Hannah was surprised that Alpha Kane could tell that those marks were of whips. She lifted her head in fright and saw the Alpha was waiting for her answer. It was her father. Hannah managed to whisper. "He used to whip Miss Iris very badly. Her body is different from other shifters. She can't heal like us. Thus her wounds have never healed. It left scars on her back. Hannah broke into tears, remembering the cruel treatment Iris had to suffer. Her father used to lock her in the attic and starve her if someone saw her. She was treated no better than a slave. Please, Alpha Cain, that child knows nothing. She suffered at the hands of her father, just like you and your people. Hannah pleaded with Cain. Cain paused for a second. Oh, really? Just like me and my people? Huh. You people have no idea. He scoffed. He found that ridiculous. Now that Gerald is dead, I'll first take care of his filthy son Mason, and then we'll decide what's to be done with the daughter. I am done with you now. Leave. Sorry? Hannah blinked her eyes as tears streamed down her cheeks. Leave this room, I said. But Alpha Cain, do as you please with Mason. He was a cruel man indeed, I can't argue that. But the daughter, my Missy Iris, is innocent. Can you please let me see her? She has been sleeping in that cold cell in the dungeon. She must be scared. I will not ask for anything, but just let me see her and tend to her. Hannah didn't have any other family, and because she watched Iris grow up, she was very fond of her. Please, let me accompany Miss Iris in her cell. Cain narrowed his eyes. This change of power didn't really affect people like Hannah, since Cain's target was not them. But she was willing to give up the comfort of her bed to stay in the dungeon with Iris. Cain found that strange. Please, Alpha Cain, show some mercy on Miss Iris. She has suffered enough. Hannah pleaded. She lowered her head until her forehead touched his boots, begging the Alpha to send her to the dungeon, to be with Iris. She knew she wouldn't be able to do anything even if she was sent there, but at the very least, Iris wouldn't be alone. Right at that time, someone knocked on the door and interrupted them. Enter, Cain said impassively. He didn't show any emotions in response to Hannah begging him. Alpha Cain, Arya called him. As she walked across the room, she threw a glance at Hannah, who was on her knees crying. Tell me, Arya, what is it? Guards told me Gerald's daughter is weak. It has been days since she has eaten. Cain furrowed his brow as Arya continued. She will not make past 2 days. Arya didn't mean to hide this conversation, thus Hannah could hear it clearly. Hannah became frantic. Miss Iris is too weak to be sick and alone in the dungeons. She will die. Alpha, please show her your mercy. She is not at fault. She shouldn't bear her father's sins. Hannah hit her head against the floor to show how serious she was with her pleas. She is not at fault, Arya sneered. Right. So what about those babies that your Alpha killed? What about those women that your Alpha raped? And what about those innocent lives that your Alpha took? Were they at fault? Arya growled. No, so were they. Not at fault. Hannah flinched when Arya snapped at her. Her whole body was trembling, but she kept pleading with Cain to save Iris's life. Why do you insist on saving her life? Letting her die is a form of a mercy too. Arya argued but was interrupted by Cain. Enough. Take the girl out of the dungeon and let a healer see her, Cain ordered, breaking the tension, which surprised both of them. Alpha Cain. What do you mean? Arya snapped, but then she lowered her voice when she saw the hard look in Cain's eyes. She balled her fist so tightly to contain her anger. Look, Arya, I am not concerned about her, but death will be too easy for her. I have not done it with her yet. I was informed by a spy that the king will be visiting us soon. I have heard he has some great interest in that hidden runt of Gerald. So, we need to take care of that. Cain folded his arms as he explained himself. Arya was not satisfied. She couldn't understand why Cain was even letting that girl heal. He could have tortured her to death right away. She had a strong feeling it was not just for the king's interest. She was not okay with Cain letting Iris live, but then as long as Cain didn't forget their revenge, she would be fine with that. Thank you, Alpha, Hannah said bitterly as she left. She knew what the arrival of the king meant. Iris was in and out of consciousness several times. She felt her whole body burning, and a moment later she was so cold. But it didn't matter. Without mercy, she was sent to the mines to work like others. Iris went to work before her body was ready. Her legs were still shaking from the fever. Her stomach was empty. Her hearing was muffled and distant. The guards yelled at her to move faster. She tried. Her legs barely responded. By noon, the heat slammed into her. Sweat soaked her clothes. Her vision blurred at the edges, going dark every few seconds. Every time she bent to lift another basket of stones, her arms trembled uncontrollably. She kept forcing herself through it. One more load, one more breath. She kept dragging her feet when she spotted a faint glow, buried in dirt and dust. Is that? No, it can't be. Mother told me these stones only show up after storms. She brushed the dirt off the stone, examined it, and hid it under her rags. Another basket later, she found a second one, a tiny shard humming under her thumb. I know this color. This is the firestone. These are the stones Mother said could change fates. She slipped them deeper into her pocket. People would search for weeks, and yet they wouldn't find anything. And here she was, finding the rare magical stones one after another with such ease. She was excited at discovering this hidden power of hers. Before she could take another step, the ground rumbled. Dust lifted from the rocks as if something massive was approaching. A worker screamed, "Monsters! From Gotha Mountain! Run!" Panic erupted. Wolves scattered in every direction. Iris tried to run too, but her legs refused. Get up, she told herself. Her body didn't listen. Another roar shook the air. She tried to grab a rock to pull herself upright. Her hand slipped. She hit the ground again, harder this time. If they reach me like this, I'm done. No one's coming. No one will even notice if I die here. Heat rolled through her chest. Her breath shook, but suddenly a small scream cut through the chaos. A child's scream. Iris's head snapped toward the sound. A kid stood alone, crying, shaking, too scared to move. She was left behind when the pack fled. Iris's heart hammered. She'll die right now. Iris forced her hand to the ground and dragged herself forward. I can't run, but I can reach her. I have to reach her. Even weak and trembling, Iris crawled toward the girl. Her arms barely held her weight. Her breath came in broken gasps. She reached the child and pulled her close. The little girl clung to Iris's dress, sobbing. Iris lifted her, barely, and staggered toward a boulder. Her arms trembled like they would give out at any second. When she reached the rock, she pushed the child behind it and curled her body over her to shield her. The monster's roars grew louder. The earth shook under their steps. Iris pressed the girl closer and didn't move. Don't worry, baby. I am here. We'll be out of here soon. A monster landed right in front of them with a heavy thud. Iris froze. It towered above her, jaws open, muscles shaking with rage. It leaned down, sniffing her. She shut her eyes, but the monster didn't strike. It paused, looked at her again, growled low. It seemed like the monster was bowing down to Iris, and she could not understand why. It stepped back a step, and then a massive black wolf slammed into the monster's side. The fight was brutal. Dust exploded. Bones cracked. The monster fell, dead. The wolf stepped into the light, golden eyes burning. Alpha Cain. Iris recognized him. He shifted back, breathing hard, covered in the creature's blood. Then he saw Iris. She was crouched over the child, shaking, face streaked with dirt, her arms barely holding the girl. He recognized the child instantly. She was Stone's daughter. Stone was the caretaker of those mines. Hannah, Cain barked. Hannah ran forward, eyes wide. Cain passed the child to her without looking away from Iris. Iris tried to stand. Her body gave out. She collapsed. Everything went dark. Cain called out to his Gamma, Ethan, and ordered him to take Iris to healer Amy. Hannah accompanied them as she did not want to lose her Missy. Why was Alpha Cain keeping her alive? What made Iris special in his eyes? He was soon to find out. Hours later, Iris woke on a cot. Hannah sat beside her, wiping her face with a damp cloth. Iris drifted in and out for hours. When her eyes finally opened, Hannah was still there, sitting on a stool, clutching Iris's hand like it was the only thing anchoring her. You're safe, Hannah whispered. Stone took his daughter home. They're alive because of you. Iris stared at the ceiling. She didn't feel heroic. She felt empty. Hannah leaned closer. You hear me? You saved a child. Iris swallowed. Her throat burned. By nightfall, the healer's room felt tighter than before. Fever made Iris's skin burn hot, but her arms shook like she was freezing. Within a few moments, Cain walked in the room. Hannah's spine tightened as she stood. She didn't bow. She couldn't. Not while Iris lay curled on that cot, barely breathing. Cain ignored her, his eyes locked on Iris. "Look at me." Iris tried. Her lashes lifted halfway, then slid shut again. Her head rolled to the side. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Cain leaned closer, voice sharp. "How do you feel?" Iris said nothing. Her fingers twitched. Her breath shook. But she didn't answer. Cain thought she ignored him. "So that's how it is? I save your life and you look the other way?" He scoffed. "Ungrateful runt." Hannah stepped forward before she even thought about it. "Alpha, no, it's not that." Cain swung his head toward her, eyes cold. "You're speaking out of turn." But Hannah didn't back off. "She can't hear you, Alpha." Cain didn't breathe for a second. He remembered what Arya had told her earlier about Iris's inability to hear. He suddenly felt bad for calling her an ungrateful runt. For the first time, Cain didn't look like a man ready to strike. He looked like a man trying to solve a problem he didn't understand. "Jace," Cain called out to his beta. "Yes, Alpha? You called for me?" Cain didn't look away from Iris. "Bring me Amy. I have some questions to ask her. And bring me the CCTV footage of the monster attack in the mines. Bring me anything written about the years she spent down there. Every injury, every report. Move," Cain ordered. Jace nodded and left the room just as swiftly he came in. Cain stood there for a beat, eyes stuck on Iris. Then he turned and left without another word. He walked out angry, but not at her. Cain was across the fortress, pacing to his chamber. Jace had brought him what he asked for: CCTV footage, complaints, scraps of notes from dungeon guards. None of it told the full truth, but it told enough. Cain scrubbed through the CCTV footage as if trying to solve a puzzle, and then he saw the report. He saw Iris finding the magical stones and hiding them in her pocket. He was baffled by the sight. Iris had this exceptional ability and no one knew that? Cain was confused as he continued scrubbing the video footage of the monster attack. Cain went numb as he watched. He stared at the wall like he was seeing something else, something unreal which was beyond his understanding. The beast in the video did not attack Iris. Instead, it bowed down to her. What was special about Iris that made the beast not attack her? Why did it bow down to her? Back in the healing chamber, Iris drifted, dragged under by fever. At one point she whispered something, but it was so faint Hannah couldn't catch a single word. Then suddenly Iris felt something. Iris's eyes shot open. She grabbed the blanket with cold, shaking fingers. "Hannah! Hannah! Wake up!" Hannah jerked upright, heart ready to leap out of her chest. What's wrong, Miss Iris? What hurts?" Iris sat up too fast and nearly collapsed again, but she kept pushing. "You hear that?" Hannah froze. She listened. "Miss Iris, there's nothing out there." Iris shook her head hard, eyes wide like something was clawing at her from the dark. Hannah's face drained. "Missy, you barely hear people standing next to you. You shouldn't be hearing something that far away." Iris grabbed Hannah's wrist. "But I do! It's clear! It's too clear!" Iris stared at the window, breath trembling. Another howl rolled through the trees. Only Iris heard it. Hannah placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, unsure if she should wake the guards or keep quiet. "It might be the fever, or a dream, sweetheart. Just lie back." Iris shook her head again. "No. It's real, it's calling. Hannah, it's calling me." Iris didn't lie back. The sound came again, a little more painful this time. She slid her feet off the cot. "Hannah, it's not a dream." Hannah grabbed her arm. "Missy, please, you're burning up." Iris's chest tightened. That sound wasn't calling for help. It was calling her. "I have to see," Iris whispered. Before Hannah could stop her, Iris pulled free. Her legs shook, but they moved. She reached a passage no one used anymore. Stone walls scarred with old marks. Her stomach dropped. "Someone is in terrible pain. I need to help him." Iris's curiosity brought her to the old chamber. She recognized it instantly. It was the place where her father used to torture the slaves. She unlocked the door and crept inside. "Oh my!" Iris gasped in horror. Her eyes were looking at a massive beast. But it wasn't the claws or the fangs that froze her. It was the eyes. Red, burning, and above everything, familiar. The creature looked at her, and for a heartbeat she saw her death. The creature towered over her, ripped up and made for killing. But its eyes didn't fit the monster. They were trapped, fighting something she couldn't see. Iris should have run, but she didn't. One wrong move and she was done. But that pain in the creature's eyes felt too close to her own. "Hey." She reached out gently. The creature snapped toward her, but Iris didn't flinch. "I'm not here to hurt you," she said. For a split second, something human flickered in its stare. Iris treaded lightly towards the beast. I know you. Are you Cain?" No, this can't be true." Iris gasped. She saw him in those crimson eyes. Intelligence, authority, violence. All of that was Cain. "Who did this to you?" Her voice shook. "Your father, and the dark magic I used to destroy him. It's the cost of my revenge." Cain's inner voice rasped. His beast form was a curse born from the forbidden rituals he'd used to gain the power to destroy Iris's father, Alpha Gerald's pack. The same supernatural forces that had made him the most feared Alpha now threatened to consume him completely every new moon. "Iris, leave!" Cain screamed again with the beast's energy. But something snapped in Iris. The girl who used to beg was gone. She wasn't taking orders anymore. "No, I'm not running anymore." Her voice rose, sharp with a rage she'd buried too long. "I am done following orders of each one of you. My father's, my brother's, yours, all of you. I'm done. And I am not going to leave you like this here. Do you get it?" The beast flinched. And then finally it happened. Cain's beast attacked Iris with all his force. In a single bound, his claws crushed into her shoulders, slamming her against the cold rock. The air was ripped from her lungs. Iris's head swung back with a mouthful of blood. "Cain." Iris screamed in pain. He wasn't Cain anymore. He was an uncontrollable beast. His jaws closed on her neck, and Iris's skin ripped like paper, blood spilling fast. She couldn't breathe. And then she felt it. Her blood rushed from her veins into his, changing something. The wounds across his body were healing from its affect, muscles calming. The beast was towering down. To both of their surprise, Iris's life fed Cain's. Her blood controlled him, healed him. But Iris's body was giving up. Her knees started to weaken. And then she fell. Darkness claimed her. Cain tasted her blood, warm, metallic. His fangs stayed locked in her throat. He felt her pulse fading under his jaw. The beast in him was finally feeding. But the human part of him was starting to panic. In the struggle between the beast's hunger and human fear, the stronger instinct won. He pulled back and looked down at her. A faint, glowing mark had formed on her neck, the unmistakable claim of an alpha. Cain's monster wolf had marked Iris. But Iris's eyes were growing glassy, her breathing shallow. She was dying. Cain's hands trembled as he wiped the blood from his mouth. Iris tried to say something, but only a weak, gurgling sound came out. More blood trickled from the puncture wounds on her neck. Then his eyes focused on her neck. "No," he whispered, his voice barely audible. No, Iris. What have I done?" He dropped to his knees beside her, his hands hovering over her body. Iris was losing a lot of blood, and Cain panicked even harder. Iris, open your eyes!" His voice cracked. "Cain." Her lips barely moved. He stared at her in disbelief, as if he couldn't comprehend that even now, at the edge of death, she was calling out to him. He held her in his arms, feeling utterly helpless. The girl lying unconscious against him was the first person in years to make him feel anything. But now, he was trapped. What should he do with Iris? He looked at her lying in his arms. Her breathing got even more shallow and her eyes completely shut. "I should let her die. It is a smart thing to do. If I let her live, my secret about dark magic would come out, and I would lose all the power and respect I have gained till now." Her heartbeat stuttered again beneath his palm, fragile, slipping. His beast prowled inside him, wanting more. The taste of her blood had driven him mad. His bloodlust was getting uncontrollable. "No," he growled through clenched teeth. "Not like this. I cannot let her die right now." And with that, Cain turned and ran. Iris clutched tightly in his arms as he headed straight for Amy's cottage. "Amy!" he barked. Amy rushed forward, shock flashing across her face the instant she saw Iris. "Put her down!" Amy ordered sharply, already clearing the table. Cain laid Iris down, but he didn't step back. Amy pressed her fingers to Iris's neck, then her wrist, then her chest, frowning deeper with every second that passed. "She's fading," Amy said quietly. "Her pulse is unstable. Her body is fighting something." "Save her!" Cain snapped, the word coming out rawer than he intended. "Do whatever you have to do." Amy began checking Iris's wounds. As she turned her to the side, pulling the torn fabric away from her back, she froze. Her face was drained of color. "What have you done, Alpha?" Amy whispered, horror creeping into her voice. Cain stiffened. "What are you talking about?" Amy leaned closer, eyes locked on the mark just below Iris's ear. "Your beast, it has marked her." Cain stared at her. "That's not possible." "No," Cain said again, denial cracking through his control. "She was bleeding. I lost control for a moment. That's all." Amy shook her head. "A bite is not a mark. This is different. The cursed beast does not choose lightly, and it does not choose by accident." "What does it mean?" he demanded. Amy swallowed. "It means your beast has bound her to you. It means whether you want it or not, whether she survives this night or not, she is your Luna." The word echoed in the room like a blow. Cain's chest tightened, anger and shock colliding violently. "No," he said flatly. "That cannot be true." Amy met his gaze without flinching. "The curse does not lie, Alpha. It marked her because her blood calmed it. That bond is the only reason she is still breathing." Cain's fists clenched at his sides. "Then keep her breathing," he said coldly. "Save her." Amy hesitated. "Saving her will tie the bond deeper. Once she wakes, the mark will strengthen." "I don't care," Cain snapped. "Do it." Amy nodded, moving quickly now, grabbing herbs, cloths, and salves. "Very well, Alpha. But understand this. Once she lives, you cannot undo what your beast has chosen." Cain looked down at Iris again, her small body fighting a battle she never asked for, and for the first time power felt less like a weapon, and more like a cage he had built for himself. "Just save her," he said quietly. Cain left the cottage with Amy and Iris in a hope that Iris would see the next sun. Next morning, Iris tried to wake, but her body wouldn't cooperate. Everything felt heavy, cold, wrong. She sucked in a weak breath. A sharp pain ran up her neck. With trembling fingers, she touched the spot. Her hand came away wet. Blood, her blood. The bite on her neck was still open, barely healed. Then the memories crashed back. The chamber, the beast. Cain's fangs tearing into her throat. Her hand flew to her neck. She could feel something there. A raised mark that pulsed with foreign energy. "You're awake," a gentle voice said. Amy sat beside her bed, mixing herbs in a wooden bowl. "The healer," Iris realized. "What happened to me?" Iris asked, though she already knew. The healer's expression was unreadable. "The Alpha saved your life." "The mark?" Iris asked hesitantly. "You bear his claim now, you're bound to him." Iris closed her eyes, processing this. She was alive, but at what cost? What does it mean? "To be bound to him?" Iris asked curiously. Amy set down her bowl. "Your fate is tied to his. Forever." Both women jolted as the door slammed open and Arya swept in, her face filled with rage and jealousy. "Get out!" Arya yelled at the healer. The elderly woman quickly gathered her supplies and fled, leaving Iris alone with Arya's fury. "Let me see it," Arya demanded, advancing on the bed. "See what?" Iris asked. "The mark." Arya grabbed Iris by the hair and yanked her head to the side, exposing her neck. Arya stared at the silver mark, unmistakably Cain's, and something broke inside her. All those years of being by his side, of warming his bed, of proving her loyalty. And he'd never marked her. But this girl, this broken, worthless daughter of their enemy, bore his claim after one night. "How?" Arya's voice shook with barely contained rage. "How did you manipulate him?" "I didn't..." Iris tried to respond, but Arya's hand cracked across Iris's face. "Liar! You must have used some kind of magic." Iris tasted blood in her mouth. "I don't have any magic. I can't even shift." "Then how did you get him to mark you?" Arya screamed. "What did you do?" "Nothing. I didn't ask for this." Arya's eyes filled with tears of fury. "You, the daughter of the monster who murdered his family. You dare to wear his mark?" I didn't know all this. I am sorry," Iris whispered. Your sorry means nothing. Arya grabbed Iris's throat, her fingers digging into the fresh mark. You should be dead. You should have died with the rest of your cursed bloodline. Cain stepped inside without a sound. Release her. Cain's voice was deadly quiet. Arya's hand dropped immediately. She spun to face him, tears streaming down her face. Cain, this girl. I said release her, Cain ordered. Arya stepped back, her body trembling. You marked her. After everything her father did to you, you marked his daughter. How can you— Shut up! What I do is not your concern. Okay, very well, Alpha, but you should know King Aeon arrives by dawn, Arya said, and he's not coming alone. 5 Alphas ride with him, the strongest, the ones who fear you most. How will you save this runt from them? Cain's jaw tightened. Aeon wasn't just a king. He was blood, his step-uncle, but he was a cruel man. The man who watched Cain grow up in chains and did nothing to save him, and now he feared what Cain had become. The king never wanted him to gain power, and Cain hated him for it. Arya enjoyed watching Cain flinch at King Aeon's name. The storm gathering behind Arya's quiet stare was only beginning, and soon, it would strike in ways he would never see coming. In a few moments, Adoran entered the room asking for Cain. He was Cain's personal bodyguard who used to run errands for him. Adoran, tell me, what is it? Can I speak to you in private, Alpha? The information is critical. Cain walked out of the room towards the corridor with Adoran along. The king doesn't plan to let you keep this throne, he said quietly. He's lining up one of his own, an Alpha loyal to the crown. Cain's jaw flexed. That's a heavy claim, he said. You sure? Adoran nodded once. Yes. And how do you know this? Cain asked, finally looking at him. Adoran lowered his voice. Because the queen talks in bed. Cain's eyes sharpened. She's my affair, Adoran continued, blunt. She hears everything. Cain let out a short, humorless breath. You're sleeping with the king's wife. You're either the bravest man I know, or the deadest, Cain said flatly. Anyway, I will see what to do about it. Thanks for letting me know. Cain assured Adoran as he left the corridor. At dawn, King Aeon entered Cain's territory like he owned the air itself. The 5 strongest Alphas from the neighboring pack accompanied him. Royal guards flooded the corridor, silver armor gleaming. The howling wolf pack bowed. Cain didn't. Aeon smiled. Well, well, the great Cain, the warrior who tore through his greatest enemy. Gerald, Aeon drawled, circling him. Cain's jaw tightened. Aeon leaned in. You kept Gerald's daughter alive, I hear. Cain's fists curled, but he held firm. And what is she now? Aeon asked lightly. Your servant? Your slave? Your bedwarmer? Cain didn't flinch. Aeon grinned in the stillness. Bring her, Aeon commanded. Everyone wants to see the prize. The doors creaked open. Iris was dragged forward by 2 guards. 5 Alphas had their gaze fixed on her. Smiles slow, dirty, hungry. Eyes crawled over her like hands. Too small, one muttered, grinning. I'd still break her, another laughed. Let me have her first, a third said, licking his teeth. One of the Alphas stepped closer, eyes roaming over Iris. He leaned in, sniffed the air, then froze. He staggered back, eyes wide down her neck. She's marked, he said in shock. His lip curled with anger. How did someone claim her before me? Aeon's brows lifted, then he smiled, slow, pleased. Marked, he repeated, tasting the word. His eyes flicked to Cain. A growl tore out of Cain, raw and loud enough to shake the hall. Look at her again, he warned, stepping in front of Iris, and I'll tear your throats out here. I called her here just to keep King Aeon's words, but don't forget I am her Alpha. Adoran, Cain barked. Adoran moved instantly, pulling Iris back. I think everyone has seen her enough. Get her out of here, now. Adoran swiftly moved out of the room along with Iris. King Aeon rose from his chair and mocked Cain. I see your affection towards the girl, and of course it is you who have marked her. In that case, I want to see how your pack thinks about it. Cain's fist tightened at his sides. The pack will follow their Alpha. The king smiled, amusement glittering in his eyes. Let's test that theory. Torches blazed. The entire Howling Pack and the surviving slaves of Blue Moon Pack gathered in tense waves. Aeon raised a hand. "I am informed that your alpha has marked a girl," he announced. "Not just any girl. Gerald Lane's daughter." He ordered the guards to bring Iris in front of the crowd. The murmurs burst out. "Lies! He's protecting her. Gerald's spawn? In our hall? He has disgraced us, chosen our enemy over his own pack. How can we follow an alpha who claims the bloodline that slaughtered our families?" Aeon smiled, feeding on the chaos. "She has been marked already by your alpha," he said. "It is true." Gasps, cries. Wolves backed away like the truth itself was poison. "You know the law. An alpha cannot mark a woman and then abandon the claim. It is forbidden. It is disgraceful." Aeon added. Silence. A horrendous, suffocating silence. Cain didn't utter a word. He didn't flinch, didn't breathe, as if Aeon had carved the air out from his lungs. The pack stared at him, eyes wide, waiting, but Cain stood frozen, trapped in the space between fury and fear. Aeon's smirk deepened. Aeon looked at Cain with theatrical sympathy. "Since you have already marked the girl, elevate her. Make her your Luna." Everyone was stunned. The pack erupted. "Never! She's an enemy! We will not accept her!" Iris, standing at the far end, bruised, froze as every head turned toward her. She was surrounded by Jace and other guards. A man stepped forward from the crowd, put his body between Iris and the pack. "I think you all should watch your filthy mouths," he said, voice rough but steady. "She stood for me when no one else did." His eyes locked on the crowd. It was Will, one of the Alpha's personal guards. "Will, you should not be defending her!" The crowd roared at him. Will stepped forward again, hands shaking. "Gerald dragged me out in chains in front of everyone. He ordered 10 men to take turns on me, said it would break me." He looked at the pack, eyes burning. "But this girl here, Iris, and her maid Hannah stole food and medicine to keep me alive, while you bowed to her father. If you want to hurt her, you have to go through me." Will challenged the crowd. The howling wolf pack stood there with their head bowed in shame, whispers breaking with disbelief and betrayal, while the surviving Blue Moon wolves watched with cautious hope. If Iris became Luna, their fate might finally shift, from slaves to something more than forgotten remnants of a fallen pack. Cain's eyes flickered, barely hiding his fury. Aeon watched it all like a man enjoying a play. He stepped closer to Cain, voice dropping low enough only Cain could hear. "If you refuse to accept her as your Luna, you will lose your crown." Aeon said in a low voice, slow, satisfied. "You accept, and you lose your pack." He clapped Cain on the shoulder, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Well then, Alpha Cain," Aeon declared cheerfully, "will you honor the marked bond and make her Luna? Or shall we search for another wolf, worthy of being warlord?" All eyes were on Cain. His throne was hanging by a thread. Iris trembling, trapped in the center of a storm she never asked for. But Aeon looked delighted. Aeon watched like a man savoring victory. Cain took one long breath. Everything inside him collided. The throne, the curse, the pack, and Iris. Cain lifted his head, steady, resolved. "I choose her." The courtyard exploded. Cain's voice cut through the chaos. "I will make Iris Lane the Luna of the Howling Wolf Pack." Jace immediately pulled Iris away as the mob stirred. Aeon stepped forward, stunned. "You'd make your enemy's daughter your Luna?" Cain met his gaze. "Yes, I will." Cain stepped forward, shoulders squared, voice steady despite the storm around him. "Iris Lane is not just the daughter of my enemy. She is the last legal heir to the Blue Moon Pack. By making her Luna, I unite both territories under one rule, mine." The pack buzzed with hushed, furious whispers. Aeon's eyes flickered, the first crack in his confidence appearing. Cain continued, each word laced with brutal logic. "If she becomes Luna, the Blue Moon lands become part of Howling Wolf. Their resources, their territory, their power, all under my command. For the first time in a century, a single alpha will control 2 packs, with blessings of both their bloods." Aeon's expression shifted, irritation mixing with reluctant respect, or perhaps fear of a man whose ambition matched his brutality. Whispers rippled, angry, fearful, awed. Aeon's confidence cracked. Cain stepped closer, voice steel. You wanted to test my strength, King Aeon, to see if I would break. His gaze hardened. I will not break. Silence fell like a verdict. Behind Jace, Iris covered her mouth, stunned. Not because she understood the strategy, but because with one choice, Cain had rewritten her fate. Arya stood rigid at the edge of the courtyard, her face pale with shock and humiliation. Hurt twisted slowly into cold, simmering rage, and in that burning silence, the outline of a dangerous plan began to take shape in her mind. That night, Arya stood with the pack healer Amy just outside King Aeon's temporary chambers, deliberately choosing a spot where she knew the king would hear every word. She wasn't there by accident. She wanted him to listen to every secret she was going to utter next. The healer shifted nervously. Arya, why have you called me here? I should return to... Arya gripped her arm gently but firmly. Just answer my question. Her voice was soft, but her eyes were cold. Behind them, King Aeon's door sat slightly open, a thin line of golden firelight spilling into the corridor. Arya raised her voice just enough. So you're certain? The healer blinked, confused. Certain about what? Arya exhaled shakily, performing the perfect tremble. About Iris. I know she still can't shift, not even partially. The healer whispered, Arya, please. Arya looked around dramatically, voice rising with concern. If that runt's blood can ruin the future heir of this pack, she said coldly, then the pack needs to start thinking about that now. A faint sound came from behind the cracked door. Exactly what Arya wanted. The healer's eyes widened. The door opened fully. King Aeon stepped out, expression unreadable, goblet in hand. The healer nearly dropped her herbs. Arya's eyes went wide, perfectly staged, and she bowed instantly. Your Majesty, I didn't know you were... we didn't intend... Arya pretended with performative guilt in her eyes. Aeon smiled slightly, the kind of smile that said he had heard exactly what he needed. Continue, he said calmly. Arya froze, trembling, innocent, but inside, she glowed with victory. I just didn't want the pack to suffer, she whispered. If Iris is a broken wolf, what chance does a howling wolf pack have of producing a healthy heir? Aeon studied her for a long moment. Then he turned his gaze toward the healer. Arya cut in softly. Please don't blame her. I forced her to talk. I only wanted clarity, nothing more. Aeon's eyes gleamed with amusement. He had seen wolves manipulate, deceive, and grovel at power his entire life. Arya was no different, just more desperate. Very well, he said. You've given me much to consider. I'll talk to Cain myself. Arya lowered her head, the picture of frightened loyalty. But as Aeon re-entered his chambers and closed the door, Arya's lips curved, a small, satisfied smile. She had delivered the poison exactly as planned, and the apocalypse was about to begin. Cain's room was dim, lit only by faint fire and iron braziers. Iris walked stiffly beside Cain. Aeon sat at the long table, fingers steepled, expression unreadable. Alpha Cain, he said, and the Luna-to-be. Iris flinched. Cain stepped slightly in front of her. Aeon gestured lazily. Sit. They did. Aeon leaned forward. Your mistress Arya makes me think interesting things. Cain's jaw ticked. Arya is not my mistress. Before Aeon could respond, Arya rushed forward, hands lifted as if pleading. I didn't mean for any of this to reach the king, she stammered, eyes darting between them. I was only speaking to the healer. I didn't even know His Majesty was nearby. She lowered her gaze, letting her voice tremble. I swear, Alpha, I wasn't betraying you. I was worried for Iris, truly. I thought something was wrong, but... She inhaled shakily, perfectly timed. I never meant to involve the king. Aeon watched her with a faint smile, the kind a man wore when he'd seen 1,000 wolves lie to his face and performed better. She has given me something very crucial to consider. Everyone knows that your Luna cannot shift, that you've bound yourself to a broken line. Then how do you plan to assure everyone that your heir won't inherit that worried about Cain and the king's conditions. Would Cain really produce an heir with that runt? The thought made her sick. There was only one solution left now: remove Iris from her way. Arya murmured to herself as she left the room, a dangerous plan already taking shape in her mind. King Aeon left Howling Wolf territory, with the promise of execution hanging in the air. And when the echoes of his threat finally faded, Cain ordered Iris to leave the room. Everybody in that room that night was having doubts on Iris's ability to produce a healthy heir, but there was even a darker secret that Cain was hiding. He could never forget that night. Gerald pinning him down, pouring scalding oil onto his groin until the skin blistered and the veins beneath went cold and numb. The damage had affected his fertility ever since. Cain headed straight to the healing room to find Grace, the most senior healer of the pack. She was the only one who knew about Cain's condition and had given up on the cure long ago. "Alpha, I already know what the king has demanded of you. But unfortunately, just as I told you before, there is no hope," Grace said sadly. She had already expected Cain to visit her looking for a solution. "What about the herbs?" Cain asked. "We can try again." Grace couldn't give him a firm answer, but it will be great if we can get the help of a divine power, Seraphim. "Our library has a book which has the cure for your issues, but it is written in an ancient language with strange symbols that only a Seraphim can read." "Oh, Grace, you know Seraphims are not at all accessible," Cain stated in a matter of fact. He was right. Seraphims were a divine power, living in a different continent across the sea, in a holy kingdom, which not anyone could enter. The ships that tried to get that to part would either burn, drown, or get lost midway. So the possibility of Cain meeting with Seraphim would be close to none. "There must be a way, I am sure," Cain said, and left in a hurry. He felt humiliated, even when he talked to Grace, one of his trusted people. He felt his ego and pride was hurt so bad. Grace Cain. Since she had seen him in his beast form, she wanted to help him get rid of this pain, and she was sure the ancient books in the library could help. So after work, she moved swiftly towards the library. As an avid reader who used to visit the library regularly, Iris knew which shelves she should go to and found the book rather quickly. Her fingers stopped flipping the pages when she gasped to see the illustration of a lichen, the monster that she saw in the basement. The monster that Alpha Cain had shifted into. It was a lichen, a cursed shifter who had performed dark magic. Impossible. Did Cain perform dark magic? But why? Iris stared at the description of it. Iris spent many hours inside the library, perusing the books. She ended up learning a few interesting things about magic stones as well and was fascinated by it. Iris then pulled a thin, dust-covered book from the shelf. The pages were filled with strange symbols she didn't understand. Not at first. She frowned, about to put it back, then stopped. "Oh, I remember Mother used to write like this. She told it was the language of the Seraphims." Iris flipped another page, then another. Slowly the symbols started to feel familiar. Not clear, but close. She sat down, read again, gave it time. And then it hit her. She was starting to understand the symbols, to read them. She realized that text wasn't just about lichens. It was about the curse, the new moon, how a shifter could be helped, calmed, saved. Her breath caught as she reached a segment which contained the cure for Cain's curse. Iris's fingers trembled on the content of that page. "Does the Alpha know about this? The curse can be cured," Iris murmured to herself as she left the library quietly. Iris walked back to her room, full of hope that she could help Cain get rid of his curse, and she was a bit satisfied about it. As she reached her room, she found Hannah awake and waiting for her. "Oh, my Missy, where have you been? I was so worried." Hannah stretched out her hands and pulled her closer to her. "How are you feeling now?" she asked. But Iris didn't answer that. Her thoughts were blurry with what she found in the book. Their moment got interrupted when Arya suddenly barged into the room. She was not alone. She came with 2 guards and said something so fast that Iris couldn't comprehend. Soon, the guards were dragging Iris by hair. "No, you can't take her away," Hannah cried, trying to pull Iris back, but the 2 guards only shook their heads sadly. "We are sorry, Hannah, but there is nothing we can do. This is Arya's order, and she would not like your Missy to see tomorrow's sun. You can bid her goodbye." How could Iris read those strange symbols? What cure did she uncover for Cain's curse, including his infertility? She might be the answer to everything Cain is fighting. But will she survive the night to tell him? Or will Arya destroy their bond before it even begins?
Find out what happens next. Listen to the hit werewolf romance series, She Broke the Beast, available only on Pocket FM. Download now and listen for free.